right. What is up, everybody? Nope. Yeah, we're live. I think we're live. It said I was live, and then it said I wasn't. So, but I think we're good now. Awesome. So, hey, how's it going? How's it going? It's going good for me. Friday. So, we're doing it a little bit earlier today, just because I've got a conflict. Gonna go enjoy some of the fall weather today. Yeah, but this has been an awesome week. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming on. So we'll just let everyone come in. We can do some more Q&A, just hang out, and we will take a look at the UART on this device because I figured that out thanks to you all sharing the data sheet with me. And yeah, so that was awesome that I was not able to find a data sheet and you guys scrounged the internet and managed to find it. So yeah. Differently. So yeah, I mean, if there's like some kind of like shell game, like I would say like not doing it the right way. If let's say there's an encrypted partition, right? And then somewhere else, like if your only place to store a cryptographic key is in the flash, well, first of all, that's like, it's kind of like game over, right? But you can do this shell game where you have like a partition over here that's encrypted, and it's encrypted with the key, but you have to store the key somewhere. And if the only place you have to store it is flash, you have to store it in some other part of flash. And so a firmware encryption is obviously pretty much solely, I can't think of an attack vector where it's not, meant to prevent a like it's like a physical access attack where the attacker gets access to the hardware, right? And they can like desolder the flash to take it off. Well, if you can do that, then you can find the key in the flash. The correct way to do encrypted firmware, like encrypted partitions, like at rest on the flash, is to have something like ARM trust zone or a secure element where there is a separate place that is not in the flash where the system can securely store keys. And then when the device loads, this only really works well when it's done in concert with Secure Boot, where the bootloader is being verified, the bootloader, and maybe the kernel and maybe something else is being, that boot chain is being verified. And then at some point in that process, that encryption key for the encrypted partitions is going to be pulled out of trust zone, out of secure elements, like somewhere that is secure, and there's some kind of authentication process where yeah, the mic, I upped the gain a little bit, guys, but I'm guessing it's kind of sketch still. Yeah, I need to do one of the Louis Rossmann one that he's got, where he's got the one that just hangs down here. So yeah, I will check that out. But yeah, so firmware encryption, right? Like if the key's stored somewhere in the flash, there's gonna be a way. It's like a chicken and egg problem, right? You can't really solve that. You need to put the key outside of the thing you're trying to encrypt, right? So yeah, good question. How long should I work as a network engineer and switch to pen testing? That's, I mean, you can always be applying for entry-level roles. The problem is that the current situation, as I read it, I'm not like an employment expert, but the way I read the situation on the ground in the cybersecurity job market is that the entry-level positions are highly, sought after, right? There are more applicants than there are jobs in that area. And so I think people trying to break into cybersecurity can sometimes feel, when they see stories about like we need more cyber talent, they can like feel like that doesn't seem right, and that's like kind of disingenuous. I think what people are trying to say when they say like we have this serious like need for a bunch of cyber talent, there's a bunch of open positions, I think it's more at the senior level, right? There are organizations that don't have the time or resources to train up new people, or they have all those junior roles filled. So you can always be applying for a junior role in like your dream job, and then keep acquiring those skills that are adjacent as a network engineer, as a system administrator, doing, I would say maybe the compliance route. But compliance gives you a certain view of the world that can sometimes be helpful, but it can sometimes be harmful for kind of a position in offensive security where you need to think outside the box, right? And not see the world as it's supposed to be on paper, right? But seeing the world as it actually is how I like to see it. When you lean forward too far, your mic gets muffled. Okay, I'm gonna try to move it off to the side, guys. Yeah, I'll try to get something better for sure. What time is it? It's noon. It's noon here. I'm on the East Coast in the U.S. So, dude, She Sparks. Yeah, you deface the camera. Okay, so if you guys didn't see, oh gosh, how do I like pull up the picture without like? All right, well, we're just gonna hang on. I just have to log into X. So, come on, where is it? Here it is. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much safe. Sure. All right. Let's go to 9 over here. Oh, cool. So, so this is what I came home to after our live stream yesterday. If this is new to you, so if this is your first time joining our stream, we've been hacking on this Dahua commercial security camera here, and on our stream yesterday, I went through kind of the enrollment process of the device to set it up, and when we did that, there was like a QR code that got displayed, right? And that QR code is meant for like cloud enrollment. And so I was like, I just invited everybody to like hack my camera if they wanted to. And so I came back to this, and actually a couple of you, I don't know if like all of you, if She Sparks, if you're responsible for all of this or part of it, but yeah, though this is hilarious. I came back to all of this, and I think a couple of you had gained access to the camera, so fun times. All right. Did you see the report they're able to listen to conversations with a computer mouse? No, I haven't seen that. That would be interesting. I think I saw like a short on social media about it, but I didn't look into it too much. Yeah. Investing in Mike. What are the enterprise or company best to apply for intern in IoT? You got to look in your area, right? And there are, I would say also the other catch-22 with hardware work is there are some jobs out there, and again, these are really more at the kind of like the senior and principal level, that will allow you to do that remotely. And then you doing it remotely somewhat implies that they're going to either ship a bunch of gear to your house, or like you kind of already have your lab set up, which is not typical. Like it's not a typical employment situation, right? Where they expect you have like thousands of dollars worth of gear sitting around that you're bringing to the table. for like a W-2 employment situation. But I would say that there's a lot of there's jobs out there where they do expect you to be in person because they have a lab, because things are sensitive. They don't want hardware to leave their premise, things like that. So I would just look in your area. And also, like I said before, there is the long game you can play. That is a very good game where you get in you find a company that produces IoT devices, and maybe they don't even have security positions, like offensive security for hardware positions, but you enter into that organization in a defensive cyber role, and then you work your way up, or something like that, right? Yeah, that's awesome. That's I just can't, I've probably said that a bunch of times, but you probably want to set your expectations that you want to have a long trajectory to getting towards that goal, right? You got the dream, and if you don't like give up on it, and you keep learning and growing, and you don't give up, like, you're kind of guaranteed to get there eventually, right? It just might take longer. You need to think on a longer time horizon oftentimes. Looking at other ones. In my experience hiring juniors, there are a lot of them, but a lot of them are quite bad. Differentiating yourself is quite easy, in my opinion. I agree with that sentiment, and yeah, some people might be mad about that, but I do think that if you are new, especially like I remember feeling this absolutely when I did internships in college, right? Like, there's the debate, and I mean, in most tech internships now are paid, but I would see posts online about like, how dare this company, like some company, have an unpaid internship? That's insulting. And the thing is that whether an internship is paid or unpaid, the company is losing money on you, right? Because they're using time, attention, and resources. Again, funny enough, like I'm suggesting in your career, they're playing the long game, that investing in interns or junior employees now is going to pay off, in 3 to 5 to 10 years, right? That they're going to build this pipeline of talent to their organization. And so what you have to realize is that at first you're a cost, like even if you were doing it for free, it's still costing the company to bring on an internship or a junior employee. So yeah. But yeah, sometimes those opinions aren't popular, but I do feel that. And yeah, differentiating yourself, it's like if you just go into that job role, and you're like, this is my thing, I'm gonna be really good at this, like the place that I am now, right? Not worrying about tomorrow, worrying about today, kind of a thing. You'd be surprised how quick you can get advanced. All right. Can you suggest a beginner toolkit set to get started, budget friendly? Funny enough, I have one video on that on YouTube, so you can go ahead and look that up. I think I list top 5 tools. I'm actually planning on doing a refresh of that, because the shopping season, at least in the United States, is coming up, so gotta get those vids out there. But seriously, I'm planning on actually doing a couple videos where I talk about top 10 hardware hacking tools, and then it'll probably be 2 videos or 2 lists of the budget, and then the you've got money to throw around list option, right? So that's coming. What do you recommend for oscilloscopes? Oh gosh, okay, there's only 68 of you online, so they can't get mad, okay? So there's this, so Saley is they make the logic analyzers, so they have this kind of closed, kind of open beta thing that I don't even know what to say about, and they've got this. It's called the Logic MSO. You can kind of Google for it. It's not in their main website yet, but it's a pretty sick digital oscilloscope. And then I bought that after I had this guy, but I just wanted to play around with some tools. So this guy, this Siglent one, oh gosh, how much is it? Let's go private window here. Oh wait, actually, do private window here and be like siglentoscope. It's like, yeah, I think this is the one like everybody gets for like $500. Now, do you need 4 channels? I think we've been talking about this in Discord. First of all, I'm not an expert on oscilloscopes, so I would definitely go to our Discord and ask there because that you're gonna get like opinions that are more like specified to what you're looking for to get out of the oscilloscope. But I have this, and then I also have the Logic MSO. Yeah, it's they're being weird about it, but okay, here we go. LogicMSO.com. It's this guy. Shh, I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you that. I don't know. I don't know why they're being weird about like, don't tell anybody about it yet. But you can go and publicly buy the piece of gear. Anyway, yeah, I really like it, and because it's a combined oscilloscope and logic analyzer, and it uses their Logic software. So, yeah, Logic MSO. Yep. Sweet. Have I ever thought about collabing with other creators? Love your content, thanks. Yeah, I have. There's like a couple things that maybe are in the works, but this is kind of like not my day job is making content, but maybe I would get into that. Yeah, I've had a couple opportunities, but my style of video is so different, right? Like I don't edit my videos. It's basically like a live stream. It's basically like it's a live stream, but I'm a little more focused in my YouTube videos. So that's not exactly everyone's style. Does anyone know the name of Matt's Discord server? One sec. Let me grab you a link. Let me get you a link. I always seem to keep like not knowing how to get this link. Here we go. Bam. There's the link to our Discord. Yeah. Would you like oh, okay, good question. Would you recommend doing electrical engineering or any education path for IoT pen testing? So if and this is an if you are going to go to traditional 4-year college university route, then we can navigate away from this. And I'm actually going to put the chat where I can see it better. Here we go. If you're going to go that traditional route, electrical engineering is huge. I would say, depending on the college you're at. So at Iowa State University, they had like a million programs, right? So they had computer science, computer engineering, electrical engineering, and they have software engineering, which is like really close to computer science. Yeah. So I would say that computer engineering, like as a focus, would be closest to IoT. Electrical engineering, you're going to get a lot of really low-level stuff, but sometimes the things that an electrical engineer cares about, they would be really good at all the hardware stuff. But I mentioned in last stream, like, so I kind of have my desk set up. It's kind of bifurcated between like hardware stuff over here and like this computer in front of here is like it's just a computer, right? And so I'm doing like software and firmware analysis here and then like messing with hardware over here. And the time breakdown when I'm doing like an IoT pen test, it's like maybe 10% of my time is over here. And then the other 90% is here. Reverse engineering software, looking at network services, looking at the network communications from the device, right? That all is happening like in software or over computer networks. And so I think something like computer engineering is going to give you a broader picture that is more representative of what you see in IoT. So, but that being said, if you could like minor in electrical engineering, that's what I would do. If I had it to do all over again, I wouldn't have. There's always regrets, right? Like everyone said, no regrets. It's like no, I've got some regrets. I made up for them though over time. But like I started computer science and I chickened out because I didn't want to take physics and like Calc 3 in college, and then I went down to management information systems, which is in like the business college, and so which was great, but it wasn't as rigorous, and I could have like got myself to learn a lot more if I would have stuck with that or computer engineering. So computer engineering was a better fit, and then I eventually did my master's and was in the computer engineering college. So, but that all being said, like we've talked about before, traditional four-year education, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to that in the next couple decades. They're either going to have to change and compete with all the free education that is out there and available, or they're going to become obsolete, and that is my opinion. So, yeah. I know you were mentioned on the Critical Thinking podcast the other day. That would be a fun collab. Oh, I've done an episode on the Critical Thinking podcast, so go ahead and check that out. Me and Justin actually both live in Virginia, so I actually got to go over to his house to record episode of that podcast. So, yeah. Hi, love from India. I'm now learning hardware hacking. Is passion, but yeah, don't know how to take it to the level and make money from it. How do I start in a corporate or in freelance? Well, I don't suggest you start in a freelance capacity. Caveat, maybe you could do bug bounty, but then I would give another set of guidance that doing bug bounty full time, where you're primarily focused on hardware, is going to be like eating glass. So I would suggest going and learning at like a big corporate, like you can go work at a corporation or a small company, right? But go work for someone else and learn the skills. And then also the other thing that nobody wants to talk about in freelance is that and this can be like a bias that we as engineers have all the time, is like, if I just know the technical things, if I'm just the best at the hacking part, then I'll be able to go make a business and sell to people, right? And you leave out all of the soft skills, and you have to learn finance, accounting, sales, marketing, right? Like there's all these other aspects to running your own freelance business, and you need the connections in the industry. So I would suggest going and working like a W-2 job first, and then later you could transition to freelance. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, good questions here. I'm gonna ask. Okay, so if you're just joining in, guys, I'm gonna answer a few more questions, and then I'm gonna show you how I got UART and got into the bootloader on this device. So, and then I'll show you where I'm stuck also. So this all happened like within the last 2 hours of me prepping for the video. I'd like to thank you for the inspiration to crack open unsupported weather station, to find the ESP8266, and flash for the ESP home. That's cool. No, I love those projects. I love, when hardware hacking and like professionally, I am a pen tester, right? I'm not a repair specialist, although like the things I do sometimes overlap with like repair and the right to repair, like the Louis Rossmann crowd, right? I love his videos. He's one of the inspirations for me doing this on YouTube, by the way. He showed me that long form unedited content can be successful on this platform. So that being said, it's always fun when the firmware extraction stuff we do helps people, kind of take back control of their own hardware. I love that. That's not like professionally what I do, but it's cool to see. I did the fun route of computer engineering, but taking the VLSI semiconductor fabrication route. Oh, okay, cool. Is that okay? Suit up and hack. Oh, that's right. I forgot you went to ISU. Great. Gauger. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm assuming that's professor. that I don't know. So I did my stuff with Monty Martin, and Doug is who I study with at ISU. So agreed. There's also EET, electrical engineering tech, which can be a good focus. Yeah, I mean, every one of them, right? Like the thing is like, no matter what degree program, or if you don't go down a degree program, you're always going to have to keep learning. So for me, I went the computer side, and then I'm constantly having to backfill and teach myself the double E stuff, right? The electrical engineering. If you go down the electrical engineering path, you're going to have to do a lot of self-teaching in the software side of things. So, do I mind sure what filming gear I'm using? Honestly, it's like a couple of Canon cameras that. Okay, so filming gear, you need to look up and make sure it can do a clean HDMI output. I'll give you the super short version of it. So these two cameras here are, they're Canon cameras that I did the research on. They support clean HDMI out, and then I've got an HDMI capture card that supports like a couple different connections. And then obviously like this is just like an HDMI microscope camera, and then that's it. So, but so that's my setup, and then it's all OBS. So I record with the same software that I'm streaming with now. It's all OBS. Okay, I'm gonna take a couple more questions, and then we're gonna jump over here. Requiring calc and physics to learn computer science is a scam. I agree. Like, no. So I just, like I said, right? When I said that, like, the traditional universities are going to need to, like, adapt to survive, that's part of the thing I'm talking about, right? And I understand philosophically where they're coming from, and this would make sense back in the day where, at least in the United States, right? Like secondary education, or sorry, post-secondary, whatever, college was like, the few people went into college, right? You would do it if you're gonna be like a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or something like that, right? But now it's like everybody goes to college, and so back in the day, they had this idea that you wanted to be like a well-rounded individual, right? So you have to learn all this stuff, like it's a university, right? The idea of the university is you're bringing together, and you're this like, you come out this like well-rounded individual. And in the 21st century, I think this is just not practical. And I don't need, I don't need Calc 3. I've never used calculus in my job, or physics. I mean, maybe there's some applications, but that's just not what I do. So. Oh, cool. All right. Do you like voiding the warranties on the hardware you buy? Yeah, I've never filed a warranty claim on any of my hardware, so not really worried about that. But I think the EFF has done some like work on, like, just because a company says that like opening a device voids the warranty, I think like legally I'm not a lawyer, like that might not be true, right? Now if you make a modification that like, and you put a new component in the thing that actually like is like, and that causes the problem, then that could void the warranty. But I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm very unconcerned about warranties. Could you go through your thought process of why you want to obtain shell? What does the boot process provide relative to firmware extraction or just plain reversing it? Yeah, so I always like to go a hybrid approach, right? Because like, yes, I could statically analyze all the firmware that I extracted, and it's a good lead-in to go over to the desk. I could do that, but practically speaking, with like limited time and knowledge, it's sometimes super helpful to just like understand on the shell, like, oh, what processes are running, what, other things like that. And then testing like exploits, sometimes you can like see in the logs what's going on. That's a little bit more advanced, but yeah, that's why I like to have a live device, and yeah, it's just pretty practical a lot of the times. So let's go and look. Actually, first let's come over here to my screen and let's look at the data sheet that you guys dug up. So this is a data sheet on a couple different of these Novatech SoCs. And so ours is this one. It's the 566 model here. And so let me try to like zoom that in and not have it go underneath my face. All right, so we scroll through here and we eventually get to, yeah, so there's block diagram telling you high level what's going on. And here, so both of these chips apparently, but ours is the 566 one. This is the pinout, and this matches, right? Because I verified on the board that the chip we're looking at is a QFN 88, meaning it has like 88, so it has 22 pins on each of the 4 sides. So that matches the physical description of the chip that I have over here on the desk. And this is very helpful because instead of probing all 88 of these pins, we can know exactly where the UART transmit is, and that is over here. So we can see that UART TX is on pin 88, and then UART RX is on pin 1, which is super useful because over here, this lets me use my pogo pins to get connected up. All right, I don't want to move this too much because I have them connected right now. But you can see that we've got our chip here, and I'm connected to the 2 sides there. And now let's try to get my microscope over that without bumping everything. All right. There we go. So you can see that we have one probe right here, which is, you can actually see there's an arrow here and a 1. So right here we have pin number 1, which is the RX pin. So that's where we were going to transmit to. And this pin right here is where we receive from. And so with that in place, we can open up PicoCom here. So I have those wires connected up to my TiGuard board running in 3.3 volt UART mode. And we can connect to that with our terminal emulator PicoCom here. And now when we boot the device, or I'm gonna turn it off, turn it back on, we get output, which is pretty limited. And so I'm going to talk about how I found out how we can get around this limited UART output and then where I'm stuck. So what do you think about Android not allowing you to unlock the bootloader anymore? I mean, isn't that up to who? I mean, it's not Android, right? It's the specific manufacturers and their phones, right? I could be wrong, Malix, but like a Pixel, right? Like so, like I bought this Pixel, like I bought an unlocked Pixel to be able to root. But if you buy this same phone from Verizon, you can't root it. Like, do I like it? No, I don't like it. But at least Pixel, it's miles better than Apple for phone testing. I don't like any of it. I don't like being locked out of my hardware. But Android seems to be just leagues better than Apple in that regard. All right, so you can see here we've got some limited output, right? It comes up, it says that it's running U-boot, and then there's some other cool stuff, and then the last line is, it just says uncompressing Linux, done booting kernel. And so at first I was trying like a million different key combinations, right? Because oftentimes you like hit enter, you can hit Control B, like something like that. So I actually had to like Google it and look it up for, so there's a known kind of U-boot pause command, which is star, so like Shift 8. So for the what's the brand called again? Dahua. For these Dahua cameras, it's known that you can interrupt the bootloader with that certain keystroke. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna turn it off and turn it on again, and come over and okay. You know what? That's not working. Fun. Oh, haha. I think I lost my ground connection. That was interesting. Let's try again. Hey, there we go. Okay. I bumped the pin that was connecting up to ground, which is why that happened. Sweet. So now we can run help and we get our standard U-boot menu here. And what's interesting is there seem to be a bunch of kind of like custom. It seems like Novatech has customized this U-boot environment, because I assume this stands for like Novatech, and then all these like special like these commands that are specific to this device, right? Like I've looked at a lot of U-boots in my day, and I've never seen these specific commands, and so it does seem to kind of correspond to some specific stuff they've built into the SoC. So we got a bunch of commands here, but the problem is what you notice is when we booted up the device at first, is it just stopped when printing like uncompressing Linux, and then it doesn't like show the kernel output. It doesn't like prompt us for like a shell login at all, right? None of that stuff. So what we're gonna do is, the first kind of thing I look at in U-boot is I always want to look at the environmental variables and environment variables. I always say that wrong. That's so funny. All right. And so there's these two variables here, and I don't know why. Oh yeah, these ones right here. Okay, so we have DH_keyboard, which again is kind of a specific, it's probably like Dahua or something like that. And it's something that they have put custom in here. This is not like a common variable that I see in the environment variables. And then there's also this app auto, right? So these two, this one right here is what is responsible. So DH keyboard is responsible for disabling all of that UART output. And then what this does is it stops the application from spamming just like an infinite amount of logs, which honestly could be useful to us as well. But we're gonna turn this off as well, just so that it's not spamming like infinitely into the UART console, because then we're not gonna be able to interact with it at all. So to do that, we're gonna do, all right, let's just make a little text file down here where we can keep some notes. So what we want to do is we're just going to queue up our commands here. So we're going to do set env DH keyboard to 0 and set env app auto to 0. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to run the save env command. I'll just type that out. But I want to explain why I'm going to do that. So usually you can edit variables, and then they're not persistent by default. They're temporal. They're in memory, but if you reboot the device, they reset back to their original values, which is safe. Like that's good, because then if you set some environmental variable that like bricks the device and won't let it reboot, it won't do that, right? It will go back and reset and reread the default variables. But we can actually save these to flash, and in this case we have to save them to flash because for some reason they don't actually get used unless they're in flash somewhere. So there's clearly something in the boot process that's going and actually like rereading some of these values out of memory. And but yeah, this is just from me poking around and testing this stuff. So there, and we can do save env, and it'll say, okay, it wrote it to NAND, and then we can do print env, and we can see that, in fact, it does, not that one. Here's our DH keyboard set to that, and then app auto. And now we're just going to run reset to reboot the device, and now we're going to see a lot more output. So this is good. We're booting up. So yeah, and then so now we're able to see the full like actual like Linux kernel booting up, which is super helpful, right? Yeah. Sweet. So now if I hit enter, oh, we get a shell prompt. Yes, we're root, right? Not quite. Oh wait. We're back in the same limited shell that we had before. So if you were on the video stream, I think it was yesterday, we enabled SSH like from the web interface of the device, and then you're able to log in with the admin user's like password, right? You're able to SSH into the device, but you get thrown into this shell, which is called, I think it like declares itself here. It's DSH, which again is clearly some custom Dahua. It's probably like Dahua shell is what they're going for there. This is a custom limited shell that's meant to prevent you from being able to do anything useful on the device. So this is pretty much where I'm stuck, and this is probably where we're going to leave off. Okay, yeah, see, it prints. It's like just printing this junk to screen. So this is not the result of me running ls, right? This right here is, it's just like something that's like sending a bunch of output to the terminal. So yeah, yes, we are in jail again, yes. But obviously this is helpful, right? If we didn't have like the firmware partition info from somewhere else, right? So this is what I was talking about before, that we can get oftentimes from UART. We can get this this kind of information from the UART UART console. So if we dump the firmware, we don't know the partition table, we can obtain it here, and then we can turn these offsets and lengths into DD commands that we can then carve the firmware up that way. So there is all of that stuff. But yeah, so obviously in a limited shell, I think what we're going to need to do is some kind of a firmware modification, potentially via chip off, to be able to either change our admin's user to binsh, to the regular shell, or to like set a password for the root user. Because we know the root user exists, but it probably just doesn't have a password set. We could look through these logs to see if that does get set. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna do one more test on this system. I just want to show you like how many logs get output when we don't have this other environmental variable. Oh, yeah, like this one right here. So let's do app auto. Let's set that back to 1, save env, and reset. Why not rip firmware via U-boot? We could, but we already chipped off the firmware, so we already have the firmware off the device. Yeah, so here you can see like it's just like spamming all kinds of stuff to the logs. My device's serial number. Yeah, it's just super noisy. Like you could never actually like interact with the shell with how much stuff it's outputting here. So, okay, I want to reverse the U-boot to find the decrypt key. Oh, okay. I think you were talking about this last time. So, I want to show you something. So, I downloaded the firmware, and to my knowledge, it's not like encrypted, right? Okay, so here I downloaded this file off of the Dahua website as like the firmware update for my device, right? And so all I did, I didn't show you guys this last time, actually. Let me look. Okay, I forget where we started. I'm gonna like start all of this over again. I'm pretty sure it's just the zip file because the bin file comes from the zip file. Okay. Okay, so here we go. This is the file right here that I downloaded. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, that's the idea. But we're gonna have to do some kind of firmware modification, and through that, I was trying to get into like boot into binsh from by changing the environmental variables, but I think it's actually in device tree, and they don't give us the commands to modify device tree stuff for inside of U-boot. So I think we're kind of stuck at requiring a chip off firmware mod in order to do that firmware update. But I want to show, okay, so like the this is something I looked for when I was like doing research offline, and this is the firmware file that I downloaded because somebody thought that like maybe the firmware was encrypted, and I don't think it is. So this, and maybe there's different camera models out there that do have encrypted firmware, and I just can't do that because the one that I have, so this is where you download from Dahua's website. Okay, so like gives you a bunch of files. So we have the original zip file, and we have this big bin, and then we have some kind of squash FS. But right here, when you're in file on it, it's like, oh, it's just data, right? Like we can't unpack this. But if you look at the beginning of the file, it starts with DH. And okay, so this rabbit hole I went down. Let me go here, get binwalk. So binwalk is going to instantly identify what this file is that just says data, right? And watch this. So it's going, okay, there we go. The text in the little table thing. Okay, so you see it calls it a Dahua zip archive. So binwalk, it knows what this thing is, right? So it calls it a Dahua zip archive. Well, what's a Dahua zip archive? Well, it turns out it's literally just like they just swap those magic bytes, right? So I was looking into this, and if we try to search for like Dahua, we will see a couple of commits here that define how it converts a Dahua zip file to a normal zip file. And I think it tells us somewhere. Yeah. The first zip file entry in the Dahua zip file has DH instead of PK. Otherwise, it is a normal zip file, right? Like it's just straight up like all binwalk does. So binwalk has an extractor, but literally all it does is it just swaps out those two things. So we can just do that ourselves. Actually, this will be fun. Okay, so we're going to take this bin file in Vim, and then what is it supposed to start with? PK. Let's do that, and let's run file again. Gosh, this output is just like file. There we go. And we can see now that the .bin file is like identifying as a zip archive, right? So now all we can do is, move this to a .zip so that the unzip program will be happy with it, and it unpacks all of this stuff. And so, okay, actually, I want to, okay, to make this more clean, let's go into here. Zach, come on, man. So here are all the files inside of that thing, right? So there is, yeah, like a kernel, a ROM, FS, the web, partition. There's a bunch of different stuff, right? Now, I have a thought about the path of like, well, what if we could just craft a firmware update that that has the modification in it that we need. And I think they are actually doing a signature check on the firmware. Like I think this firmware is signed. So I did do a little reversing last night, and I think that this. So I mean I pretty much know that this right here, this I mean this is just like a bunch of data, right? But this sign.image is checked by a public key that is embedded by the firmware, and basically this like is a generated signature, and the private key is is like something that Dahua holds. It's not in the firmware as far as I can tell. They didn't make that mistake. So I don't think we can push our firmware file just via the normal method. Now, I don't think this device has secure boot, so we can do the chip off firmware modification whereas modifying the firmware update file and trying to repackage it, we won't be able to regenerate the correct sign.image file. But that being said, I don't think any of this is encrypted. So like if we go and we, you know, I mean, like, let's just run file on all this, right? Because like all of these are like these uboot legacy uimage files, right? And let's just like unpack one of them. Let's just do this like WebEx thing, right? Let's try to extract that. Go into the extractions folder, go into here, and we have a web.bin. Wait, what is that? A squashfs file system. Okay, let's unpackage that. Come on. Oh my goodness. Hey, there's squashfs root, and we have the partition that is like, this is clearly like the web root, probably for the web GUI, right? So fun times, right? So we can oftentimes still in 2025, you can still, you know, sometimes download the firmware off of the vendor website and make some progress with it there without having to pull it off of a live device. So yeah. Robert, yeah, unless both the pub and private key are in the firmware. Yeah, I looked for that. I poked around to see if I could find the corresponding private key, and I think that there's like one private key on the device, but that's clearly used for like the web stuff. When I say clearly, I think it's being used for web and not for the firmware signing verification stuff. So yeah. There is an official firmware of the company and modified from other reverse engineers as it's a couple of KB in storage. How do we even begin to reverse engineer it like other people? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we're getting at there. Oh, can you explain the P2P stuff? Like, how is it tunneling? Yeah, we might be able to do that real quick. Let's see. Like, explain it as in, like, I can kind of show you what I think is going on. Are we connected up to the network? Yeah, we should be. And the device is on. Yeah, so we should be good there. Okay, we're gonna restart here. I'm going to bring Wireshark over here. And we're gonna watch the device boot up. SheSparks. Yeah. So yeah, the remote video stuff. So we mentioned how a couple of our awesome viewers managed to hack this device, and so he's asking like how does like the cloud server communication work? And I want to observe that. Oh, wait a minute. I might be doing... Okay, I have to stop my network stuff for a minute and show you. So yesterday we were doing kind of the man-in-the-middle attack, so let me show you what I was doing kind of offline after that. So I found there were some other ports that we needed to kind of intercept, and so here are some other ones that we also intercepting, and oh wait. Is that the right one? Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna run that, and then I need to history middle proxy. Cool. So let's do that. And so I might need to reboot the device again in order to get all of that, all those communications. But here you can see like the TLS traffic that we intercepted yesterday. I think this is the TLS traffic we intercepted yesterday. No, this is a different destination port. There's like a bunch of different destination ports actually. Wait, is this even a different one? 9898? What the heck? I don't even think I have that one set. There's like a million different ports. Okay, stop. Seriously. So many ports. 98, is that right? Did I get that wrong? What is it? 9898, yeah. All right, so we are going to start over, reboot device, and observe the communications again. James, yeah, that's what we found yesterday. Is like, yeah, you have to put that prefix in front of your password to like, yeah, to get into it. All right, now we have this running, so we should be good to go. Should be redirecting there properly. Okay, there's the device. We're ARPing. That's good. Now it's going to communicate to some things. Oh, this is really interesting. It's like broadcasting itself. Okay, here we go. Okay, DNS request to the cloud. And then we have a connection. Interesting. We didn't intercept that. Why did we not intercept that? That looks correct. Hey, okay, here's one. Okay, so here's one of these things that we intercepted yesterday. Now it is using like, so I looked into this authentication, this WSSE authentication, and it's like a quasi digest form of authentication where it's not sending the actual password over the network, which is good, I suppose. But what it does is it like reaches out to this cloud server, but there's a bunch of UDP traffic that happens also. Here it is. That's actually a lot of UDP traffic. All right. I'm guessing one of you guys has the video stream up. Oh yeah, this is totally video data. One of you guys is connected. But oh, okay. So this is cool. Yeah, but basically there's something that happens before this. I wanna show what happens before it. Is it this? Oh yeah. So this is how it like makes the connection through this like tunneling server. So here we can see we're doing like setup, device, serial number, and then it's authenticating, right? And then the server says, okay, and this is over UDP, right? This looks like HTTP, but this is over UDP, right? And then there's these like obviously not like standard requests here. NF post set info for the device, and there's this big long thing here. And it's setting up like a token here, you know, device authentication, all sorts of cool stuff. Wait. Okay, here I see username admin. Oh, do we ever get? No, it's like this like encrypted device authentication thing. I was wondering if it was going to send our password in clear text. This is really funny. I don't think I've seen this communication before. Client ID, public address. If this is one of your guys' public IPs, that's funny. I have stream on currently for testing. You have a firmware update available. Oh, the firmware update. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this is really cool. So the firmware update. Okay, so that's cool. So you initiated the firmware update thing on the device. So I want to go look at that. So that's a request that I like hadn't seen before. Oh my gosh, why is it not showing the full thing? Okay, well actually I think this is it. Here we go. So this is the API call, which again also is done over TLS that can be intercepted. That is not secure. There's like no certificate authentication being done. But this is the request that the web, when you initiate like the manual check for the firmware update, or sometimes it does it automatically, this is the request it sends to the server, and then it gets back this response, which has this fun little URL right here that we can copy and download all. And this is like another way to download a copy of the latest firmware. I thought this was funny. This firmware fixes some bugs, improves the product performance, and strengthens product security. But yeah, so this is fun. But yeah, this is like a, you know, this is like the URL here, where we can go and if we need another copy of the firmware. Okay, there we go. What? Command, oh gosh, I can't like do this. Oh, there's like a new line character that I like when I copied it in there. There we go. Post it in the Discord. Wait, where did you post in the Discord? Or are you saying you're talking to somebody else? Anyway, yeah, but this is cool. This is fun, fun hacking on this camera with you guys. I'm probably gonna wrap this up here. I got some stuff to go do today. Hope everyone got had a good time coming on. Yeah, sorry, we're heading off, but I got here late. What device are you looking at? This is a Dahua, you know, IP camera here. So. That's what we got taken apart on the desk. We did some UART stuff. Yeah, but and then look at some more network traffic. So thanks, guys. I obviously this is special this week for me to like stream every day. I can't do that every week. That's it's just not sustainable. But I might be doing trying to get into like a once a week flow. So once I figure out like a regular kind of I see I see your post. I see your post about the stuff. Thanks. Oh, sweet. Yeah. I'll be sure to check that out. But I'm gonna try to make this like a weekly thing. We'll see how that goes and try to find like a time that we can be consistent and we get good showing. So thank you guys and have a good Friday. Peace.